the way the team came together. Everybody that had worked for us previously, listen, we don't have a lot of turnover. A lot of folks tend to work for us for a long time. But as soon as this happened and they all found out, all of our employees that we had before came back. It was amazing. So when we opened, they walked in the door, put their stuff in the back, and just started serving. And I'm like, dude, like, are you guys cool with this? Like, I didn't even know, like, and they're like, no, I don't need to pay. We're going to help you guys until you can get this thing straight. So for the first week that we reopened, all of our ex-employees came back. And to us, that was a validation that we're doing the right thing in our business. Every business says it's a family, and it's usually a lie because nobody cares, right? Now, I'll fire you in a heartbeat or this and that. She legitimately treated it like I used to treat my platoons or my company or my battalion. We're all family. We've got to depend on each other. And that was a moment for us that was so healing to see them in there. And we weren't able to do any. I was shaking hands and thanking people. That's all I could do. I mean, I'm not, there's no way I'm going to pour beer at that time. My daughter's in a wheelchair. You know, my wife his ribs are busted up and she's like kind of trying to deal with the crowd. And so it was a very awkward day for us to reopen. But our ex-employees and our current employees made it almost joyful. I mean, it was a beautiful thing. Like, I can only imagine, like, you know, a restaurant, all the people that you've hired just show up one day because of tragedy and start working for you for nothing, just to be a help because of the way we treated them while they were there. And I think that validates what Jess is doing.
Welcome to the Colorado Springs Business Podcast, where we discuss business principles and provide real-life insight into the lives of everyday business owners and entrepreneurs. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe or leave a review wherever you might be listening. Now, let's talk business. It's an honor to have you here talking with you. It really is, man. It really is. And I'm excited to get to know you and your company. And learn just more about what you're about.
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. It's awesome to have you. It's good to, you know, some of the conversations we already had when we were exciting you in for the podcast. But we wanted to talk about Atrevida Brewing to start off this podcast. Tell us a little bit more about it. Like, what got you started in it? I read a little bit about it online. It sounds like it started overseas, but tell us your story.
So I honest to God, I still don't know how to make beer. I have no intention. I'm not a patient guy. So my wife hated beer. Her dad used to drink, and I'm not saying bad about labels, but he used to drink Tecate, and she didn't like it when she was a kid. And it's funny because my daughter always referred to, when she was little, when she would taste the wort, she's like, it tastes like soy sauce. And I'm like, well, I guess that's kind of the weird flavor of beer if you're a kid, right? You know, so that was my wife's take on it. And we went to Germany, and it was a €1.50 for beer. It was €2 for bottled water, and it was €3, €4, up to €8 for mixed drinks. And I told her, I said, listen, at some point here, you need to get into this beer thing because it's cheaper, one, and two, it's awesome, right? So she started tasting the beer, she liked it, and so she got into beer, like just drinking it. And then we ended up at a hail and farewell from the Army. We do like, you know, hellos and goodbyes, and everybody gets together and just kind of does that. Was at a brewery down in Plankstadt called Veldebrouw. And my wife we all got a tour, and she fell in love with the process because they showed us from grain all the way to the bottle, right? And it was just so cool. She got into it. We came back here in 2007, and then she was like, well, let's just start going around breweries because she found out Colorado's got all these breweries. So we started going all over the place. And then she decided to ask, just at this time, she's a cosmetologist. She's teaching cosmetology. She's a barber. I'm still in the Army. And she just decided, hey, can I brew with you guys in the morning and or one of these days? And the owner goes, well, you know, you got nails and you're all makeup and everything. She's like, I don't care what time I got to be here. And he's like, well, 6 o'clock and be ready to go. And she's like, I'm here. So she showed up the next morning at 6, had a little notebook and just started going. So she started kind of backwards. She didn't homebrew until after she was in a brewery. So she interned at the brewery for about a year, and then we finally ended up buying our own homebrew kit, and she started brewing at home, making her own recipes. She fell in love with it, and she was brewing all over, like with the Pink Boots Society up in Denver. She started that down here once she started her brewery. So she's been brewing she's brewed at Nano, she's brewed Pikes Peak, Pickett. She's brewed there at least once when she was trying to get into the business. So it was a lot of hard background work. And then it was an accident that we got into. It was a TV show called Beerland on the Viceland channel. And it was a contest. So the girls up in Denver called her and said, hey, there's a contest. Do you want to enter? She's like, yeah, I got a couple bottles laying around. I'll throw them in. And we thought it was just a normal beer contest. Everybody's throwing in beer and somebody will win, right? Well, they called her and they started talking to her. And she's like, why is it so in depth? I'm just dropping my beer off on Saturday. And the guy goes, no, we're from Viceland, which is now, it's just Vice News. Mm-hmm. But we're from Viceland. We got a show we're doing called Beerland, and we want to put you in. It sounds like you're a good fit. And Jess was like, what are you talking about? Like, and they're like, well, we need to come to your house on Thursday. And this is on a Monday. On Thursday, and then if you can brew, and then on, we might come back Saturday, we might come back Sunday. And Jess is like, wait a minute, my house is like, everything's going through her head. Like, I can't brew. It's February in Colorado Springs. There's no way I can brew out here. And then my daughter goes, yeah, she'll do it. And hung up the phone because they were in the car. So my wife's big thing was my daughter is the one that actually locked the deal for the show. Anyway, long story short, we did it. She ended up winning for Colorado, her beer, her home brew, called Doña Neta. It was a tamarind. So she put a tamarindo candy that she used to make the recipe with her grandmother in Mexico every summer. So she made it and then steeped that into the beer. And it's amazing beer.
I gotta try it.
Yeah, no, well, we don't own it. It's now part of the Beerland, their little thing.
Okay.
But she does do a nana neta, which is the same kind of her take now. It's a different flavor, but it's really, really good. But that was her thing. So she won. She ended up winning the whole show. So she won for Colorado, and then it was against Hawaii. It was Hawaii, Colorado, Northern California, New Mexico, and I can't remember the other state, or New York. And so she won. And so we were like, oh my God, you're Kelly Clarkson. It's the first date, first TV show. We were like, we're going to be millionaires. And nothing. So it's one of those things where you're in business, you're like, where is my Kelly Clarkson moment? I just did a TV show. But it doesn't work that way, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's business, and I'm in the Army, and everything is kind of safe, right? Mm-hmm. I've got a check. I go do my thing, and then I come back home, and we do normal people stuff. And she just won this TV show. I'm like, what do I do? I'm like, I'm getting out. We're like, well, and then she's like, well, let's look at doing a brewery. We had been getting into it. It took us 2 or 3 opportunities before where we almost did it, but we didn't. And then this opportunity arose while this had finished, and Jess decided, hey, I'm going to do it. And it was literally all her. I was like, I'm trying to get out of the Army. I got all this stuff going on. I'm just doing my job. I'm very risk averse when it comes to cash, and a lot of people are, and a lot of people aren't. I mean, some people will throw it all in and go, I'm gonna ride it out. I'm very risk averse. I want to maintain my lifestyle and then still be able to kind of do some things. Mm-hmm. So she decided to go all in, and she scraped it all together. And I have no idea how, but she ended up putting the money together. We bought the brewery, which was formerly Great Storm. We bought the brewery in January of 18. Wow. And then in May of 18, she turned it into Atrevida.
We'd like to take a quick break to thank our sponsor, Planet Duct. Let me tell you what, these guys, they've got some powerful equipment. Their fleet of air duct cleaning trucks are equipped with some of the most powerful vacuums you've ever seen. I mean, these whole trucks, the entire truck, is one giant vacuum itself. With their expertise and equipment, they not only get the job done, they get the job done right to maximum efficiency. And you don't want to be breathing in nasty air from having dirty air ducts or having inefficient airflow, so get your ducts clean with Planet Duct right now. Visit planetduct.com. If you're from Colorado Springs, then you've probably seen our next sponsor driving up and down Academy or at any of their other 3 locations here in Colorado Springs and in Pueblo. El Super Taco has authentic Mexican food with locally sourced and fresh veggies and meat that is chopped daily. Be sure to check them out next time you're hungry and mention the podcast too. I mean, we don't got a code for you, but definitely mention it. Power Tool Safe has a vision to help fight against theft. They've developed technology to help you keep proper records and are building a community of awareness around stolen goods. Sign up today for a free account and register up to $10,000 in tools and equipment. No credit card required. It's as easy as setting up a Facebook account. Imagine having a team of marketing professionals working for your business, making sure that you get the awareness and sales that you deserve. Well, that's exactly what you get with Recon Marketing. With up to 35 plus years in experience and 10 million plus in managed budgets, they know exactly what it takes to put you on the radar. And our final sponsor is my company, Veeman Visuals. We produce videos with passion and strong meat. Our goal is to innovate and push the boundaries of what's possible when it comes to creating powerful visuals that drive results, whether that be in business or in life. We have the production power to produce any kind of visuals you want, from documentaries to YouTube videos to social media content, commercials that are designed for television, 3D animations, and so much more.
Her thing, though, Atrevida means bold, daring woman,
Nice.
kind of like, out there, just crazy. And for her, looking at the reason why she wanted to do the brewery was we'd go to breweries and we'd be the only brown faces in the brewery. It wasn't a bad thing. Nobody said, oh, get out. But it felt awkward to us.
For sure. Yeah.
Right? So she was like, I want to do a space where it's good for everybody. Like, just bring anybody you want in here. And hopefully when you walk in, you'll see some kind of flavor of something that maybe, or, whatever, you'll learn something. So that was her big deal. And so she ended up with the Diversity It's on Tap and Atrevida Beer Company. And she's been making beers that have meaning to her. And I think that is what makes her beer stand out a little bit is there's a lot of heart into what she does. And she's the recipe builder. Her brewers do make recipes, but she is ultimately like trying to pull out that last 1% of heart and soul to make that thing taste just a little bit better. Because a beer's a beer, right? But what separates you, I think, and what we think is that little bit of you're putting in there. She always says it's my integrity in a glass, which I'm like, dude, that's pretty bold, right? Yeah. You're like, every time somebody picks up a glass, it's your integrity, And then I thought about it, and it's kind of true, She's putting herself on that table every time when somebody picks up the glass, and if they don't like it, they don't like her, which is so weird, because has nothing to do with her, but it's her product, and her product's to bring joy and some happiness, and that's kind of where we're at with that. Yeah, but that's Atrevida. Like, that's and awesome. So we're gonna do our 5-year here in 2023. So yeah, it's been wild. It's been a wild ride.
5 years is a huge milestone.
Yeah. So we hit 5 years 18th, like next week, right? But then we opened as Atrevida on Cinco de Mayo. So we've got Atrevida's anniversaries on the 5th, but our business anniversary it's right now. Yeah. So we've owned it for 5 years, and we're literally like, dude, we got to redo a lease. It's like all this stuff. We're just like, what is going on? And we're in the middle of all this chaos that we're kind of going through. So it's been an interesting ride. Yeah.
How has been navigating the sudden, I guess you did Kelly Clarkson moment, but in a different way.
I just went to a club to support my daughter's friend, and he's like our kid. He grew up with her, second grader with my daughter when she first got into the Springs. They're best friends. He just grew up and happened to be he's a drag performer now. And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't care. So we went to go see him perform, and it changed our lives, right? And it's not in a good way, but it's also in a good way, right? So I just happen to have a business, which makes it a little different for me and my wife and my daughter and our friends than anyone else. Because, your job, usually it's really quiet and they take care. We had a business and people had a way to kind of just say, hey, let's support them. And so it went crazy. I've never been on TikTok. I don't even know what that stuff is. And apparently I'm all over TikTok and I'm all over the stuff. I've never seen it, but I've never seen it. My daughter sees it and tells me about it. But I don't do like I told you guys earlier, I only do Facebook because downrange, that was the fastest way for me to text or instant message my family while I was in Iraq or Afghanistan. Because I had MySpace, but when you guys probably weren't even born, but I had MySpace.
I had MySpace.
We had MySpace.
All right, so I had the MySpace when it first came out, because you either wait in line for a phone or you can get on a computer and then instant message and be done. Like, hey, I actually talked to him. It didn't talk on the phone, but at least we were able to communicate. So those are the only two things I've had. I tried Twitter for about 10 minutes and then I dumped it because I'm like, I can't. This is too much. I have enough anxiety. I don't want to be trying to chase around social media. But my wife and daughter know the importance of it, and they do it, and they do it for the business and everything else. So that stuff was all out there, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means, but I'm a brewery, and it was so weird when you get unbelievable amounts of orders for t-shirts and hats and all this. I'm not FUBU. I'm not Guess. I'll put it this way. I take the orders monthly, go to the post office and send them off. I label everything. It wasn't that big a deal. I put the website up with the merchandise for the pandemic. We were closed, and I told Jess, I go, well, let's try. I was literally in my master's class learning how to build a website. And I'm like, let me do this, and then we can hopefully sell some T-shirts while we're waiting for this place to open back up, because we were closed. So we were like, oh, okay, let's try it, and it worked. We got people to buy it. They wanted to support the business, and they were buying that stuff. But people don't necessarily go, oh, let me go look for a brewery shirt from Atrevida randomly. And when it happened big. And it was global. And I'm like, holy crap. Oh, by the way, there's only 6 of us, right? In the brewery, 3 brewers and then 3 front of the house. And the 3 front of the house, they're there to serve, or it was 3 at the time, or 2 now, sorry. They serve beer. And I'm like, okay, they don't do merchandise. They don't package. We don't have a line of, production stuff, or we don't even have a canning line. We just can every time you walk in. If you wanted a can, we're out of cans. So I don't have any cans right now. So everything sold out in an hour when we reopened. Right. So we were done with all the merchandise in about an hour. And mind you, there's still orders coming in, and it's the holidays and people feel sentimental. And I think this was kind of why all this thing kind of got different. I'm so grateful and humbled by it, right? It's overwhelming, the amount of love and support we've gotten. And listen, the complaints, they're there, hey, where's my shirt? Where's my this? But it's minuscule compared to the amount of love. And it's hilarious to watch people that we don't even know, like, defend us, because they're like, dude, do you not know what these people went through? Like, I got it. You'll see me post stuff because it's fun stuff. I'm not going to post when I feel like crap. I'm not going to post that, hey, today we had a bad day. Today we weren't happy. Today we were remembering Raymond, and it just sucks, right? Today my friend broke down because, he's like, I got shot and it changed my life. Those are the things that I don't think people get. I'm not going to publicize that. But when I'm out when the Chargers take us out and I get a chance to see my daughter and my wife happy for a day, just one day of, hey, I don't have to deal with this stuff, and I'm just happy being in the moment, blows my mind, right? Because I don't know how many of those you get in this next year, or this next 10 years, or this next 30 years, right? This kind of event, this kind of shooting changes you into the thought process of, how long do I have here? Who means something to me? I went through this in the Army, right? But now everyone around me has gone through it as well, together. And so we're all dealing with, how does my body, how does my mind sort through this and move forward? So each person has their own way, but all of us have a married or combined thing, right? The event is the thing that brings us together. Mind you, we still got to go through a trial that's going to remind us every 5 minutes of what happened, or in detail that we don't even know yet, right? The DA knows everything. I don't know everything. I know what I saw. They know what they saw. Everybody has their own story, but they've got all of our stories. So that's where it gets kind of like, holy crap, we're going to have to go through that until it's done. And then it may be appealed, and then we got to do it again, right? So this is a forever thing for us. It's not a temporary. And for the business, we are trying desperately. Like, dude, we're talking to distributors. We're talking to everybody we can to see how we get this done. It was the middle of holidays. Nobody's working. And then they don't want to sign contracts because they got taxes coming. So they're like, well, we'll do it in January. And then January, we're trying to sort through all these contracts. The last contract we signed was like, oh, yeah, you want a keg? Here's your keg. That's it. I mean, I didn't care if I lose a keg. And now I'm talking big stuff. So it's crazy. I'm not an expert. I still work at Carson. I'm a defense contractor.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, because I like working with soldiers. I like working with my team, and they're good folks, and I just enjoy it there. And that helps me kind of ground myself. And that's where I told my buddy last night, I go, Chip, I occupy my time with tasks so that I don't have to think about some stuff, right? So I was in the master's program. I was working as a defense contractor. I owned a business. I was doing volunteer stuff in the community. And everyone's like, wow, that's a lot. I go, no, it's keeping me from sitting in my own thoughts. So I get very task oriented, and it's not the best, but it is something that helps me kind of get through stuff. So yeah, the business, I mean, we're like today, we've got all the Charger folks coming down for the playoffs. I got a friend who's a big 49ers fan. So today's a big wild card Saturday, and we're going to have folks there watching the game, having a great time. There's tacos and beer, and it's going to be awesome. And we'll go through it. But I don't know if in the middle of that, any of us in our six decide, hey, yeah, I got to go, you know? And that's where it gets weird, because people are like going to the brewery expecting to see us. And I'm like, dude, you understand it's hard for us to go through that every time. There's groups, right? We went to Buffalo Wild Wings, the new one that just opened on Powers, and we sat down and I'm like, holy crap. Like it's what I used to go through when I was in the Army, and now I'm doing it again because it's like restarted. Because you look at the room as like, what if this happens right now? And if you just thought about it, in that Buffalo Wild Wings, hundreds of people just gone, right? And it's ugly to think that way, but that's what's in your mind right now.
And you have the vivid memory.
Yeah, sure. Well, and so I've dealt with it before, and the hard part for me is now, okay, I can put that aside. I've gone through that multiple years. I mean, I started deploying in 2003, and I finished in 2012. So I had 4 tours. I've seen death. I've seen people get shot with these kind of weapons. I've seen these things. I've learned to deal with and manage it. Doesn't mean I'm good at it. Doesn't mean I'm the best. I'm probably really horrible at it. But I was able to manage it. And then this happens, but it happens to your family as well. Can you imagine deploying, going and fighting the enemy, and your wife and daughter right next to you? Right next to you. That happened that night. My best friends were in there. We lost my daughter's boyfriend, who was 6 years, right? So like the future, it's not about his death, right? It's about the loss of the possibilities for my daughter. I could have married, maybe I would have had kids with him. Maybe we would have broke up. Doesn't matter. None of that is able to happen anymore. It's final. So it's about the loss of possibilities, not the loss of the human. It's the possibilities of interaction as people, right? It's gone. My friends right now, any trajectory we take has been shifted because of that event, right? I can say tomorrow, hey, let's go to this. No, I don't want to go. But had that been 6 months ago, we may have all went. Got on a boat, done whatever. Now that everybody looks at things differently, no, I'm not doing that. How about we just go to the house? Or how about we just go do this? Or how about we don't do nothing? I'm having a bad day. Forever changed. And this is for all the victims in there, right? Heroic stuff. And I'm telling you, the more I talk to different victims, and it's not that I'm running around looking for them. It's just that some of us have gotten together. I didn't know anybody in there. I knew the 6 people I was with, right? But they stopped by the brewery and they tell their story, and I'm like, holy crap! How did you guys do that? Can you imagine? You've been shot, and there's still that threat in that room. You don't know where it's at. You don't know where he's going. You don't know if he's coming back, but you can't move because you've been shot. You're laying there hoping that you don't die from that wound, or this guy don't come back and do it again. That's when I looked at people like, holy, like, there's no heroes in this thing. It is literally everybody did heroic stuff to stay as best they can alive, right? Or their friends, or they're the person they tried to help, or whatever. Ran away, fine, you survived. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. And then you look, and we still lost 5 people, right? It hurts. But then everybody looks at it as like, could have been more. Well, yeah, but we still lost 5. So it's a very tragic, powerful thing. I'm so blessed that this community came together. I am so excited that folks that I would have never thought are, shaking my hand and saying, hey, look, that was awesome. I appreciate what you guys went through. I'm going to, they want to give. I'm like, dude, donate to the healing fund, right? I'm not in control of that. That's the city, state, whatever. I don't even have a GoFundMe personally. I don't. I support everybody else's GoFundMe. I think they need, we were talking about kids that were bartending that may not have health insurance, that may not even making, they're making money off of tips. And that was taken away that night too. So they don't even have a job. And then how do you expect them to go into a business and be a bartender again when they just went through that?
Yeah, that would be hard.
Right? So you look at business and you look at employment, and when you have a tragedy like this, it changes everything. Mm-hmm. But for everybody watching, it was 10 minutes, right? It was the last, headline. And there was a shooting the next week. I mean, it was that everybody was watching. There's hurricanes. There's all kinds of crap going on in this world. Flooding, everything. So yes, people are going to move on. And I hope they do, because you don't want to dwell on this stuff. But we're never going to be able to move on. So we're always going to be dwelling on this stuff. And we're going to have to learn to live with it. And the Healing Fund, at least for me, I look at it as it's an equitable, if you need something, they will pay it out, because it's a big pot and everybody can go reach in as they need it. If I don't need anything, I don't get anything. But if this kid needs, another surgery or needs mental health care, they're going to take care of all that. So that's the stuff that, you've got to look at and say, that's up to me, a place where I want to put my dollars. I mean, we went to Drew Barrymore's show, not because I want to be famous. I went to a club. I didn't go to go be famous.
Exactly.
I went to Drew Barrymore's show because it's a nice person, and I was hoping that they'd do something for the victims, and they did. They gave them $50,000 to the Healing Fund.
That's awesome.
Right? But that's not me. That's not me. I didn't ask for it, right? But that's the plus on this, that hopefully people, and I'm hoping that people that were watching that night were like, oh, let me do the Healing Fund. Let me give some money. I don't want anybody's money or pity. I don't think anybody in that building wants that. They just want people to acknowledge the fact that it was a horrible thing. It's going to continue on. And I think that's the hardest part for, I don't even like to call them any of us victims. We were all, like we were all just part of this event, because they're not victims. Those that were shot, they're survivors, man. Those guys are awesome. We had 3 folks come to the brewery. They were all shot up, and I'm like, you're walking around right now. It's been less than a month, and they're like, dude, I don't know how. Like, they're just like amazed that they survived that way too. And I'm like, I mean, those are the heroic moments. Those are the things that this business that we have. I'm so proud that we're able to support that. Like, so the day after, and for the LGBTQ community, there's only a few places to go, right? Mm-hmm. And do you go to the what is the Burleby in the middle of the day? The street, yeah, you go to Burleby, or you go to Icons. The middle of the day, I don't know. I mean, it's usually a nighttime, good time. Mm-hmm. They have great music and great folks. Club Q is kind of the same way. You go in the middle of the day, I don't know. And we were kind of looking at our brewery as like a safe place. We've done the Pride Parade since we started in 2018, right? We're the only craft brew, like Denver's craft brew community, they do their own craft brew Pride Parade of just breweries in Denver, right? And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Like, they're supporting the community. Everybody's in this community, not just LGBTQ, everybody. Because anybody who's related to or they're friends of, that's all the community, right? So we were doing it down here, and I'm like, dude, we're like the only ones doing anything. Why? I grew up in San Diego, and the Pride Parade was like the biggest thing in the city. Like, every year, it was huge. But it didn't mean that like everybody was gay. It just meant that everybody wanted to go, and cheer for their friends or their buddies or whatever. And it's just a moment for people to say, acknowledge you exist and we care. That's it, right? So the brewery ended up being like a place where everybody was gathered. Nobody even knew we were involved in this thing. And people were going to Atrevida because they're like, well, let's go be amongst ourselves, or be with our people that kind of, were hurt by this, because it hurt a lot of people that weren't even there, Mm-hmm. And then we told our team the following day, like on Monday or something. And it was like a shock. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we were over there just mourning with everyone else, and we didn't even know owners, and Cassie, like one of our brewers, is part of this. Chip and Joanne have helped us with this brewery since the beginning. So and it's funny, we joke because she's like, I'm the marketing I'm the marketing CEO, or like the head of marketing, and then I'm the head of this. And Chip's like, well, I'm the operations manager because I make sure everything happens and all this, all the they go with us to all the fests, mm-hmm. Because it's 6 of us. I can't take 3 people and then we can't run the business.
Yeah. So
they ended up going with us to all the fests just because they had fun and we like hanging out, and we used to go to fests before we had a brewery. So it's amazing the way the team came together. Everybody that had worked for us previously, listen, we don't have a lot of turnover. A lot of folks tend to work for us for a long time. Tasha has been there since the beginning. And Taylor actually was there when we first opened, but she was a customer, and then she ended up becoming, she wanted to work for Atrevida, so she ended up working for Atrevida. So we've known her since we opened. My daughter's there, my wife's there. We had Michelle. She was there from the beginning and just finished. She just moved up in her other job, so she's like, "Hey, I gotta step away." Mm-hmm. But as soon as this happened, and they all found out, all of our employees that we had before came back. It was amazing. So when we opened, they walked in the door, put their stuff in the back, and just started serving. And I'm like, dude, like, are you guys cool with this? Like, I didn't even know, like, and they're like, no, I don't need to pay. We're going to help you guys until you can get this thing straight. So for the first week that we reopened, all of our ex-employees came back. And to us, that was a validation that we're doing the right thing in our business, not for money, but because my wife and I every business says it's a family, and it's usually a lie because nobody cares, right? Now I'll fire you in a heartbeat or this and that. She legitimately treated it like I used to treat my platoons or my company or my battalion. We're all family. We've got to depend on each other. And that was a moment for us that was so healing to see them in there. And we weren't able to do I was shaking hands and thanking people. That's all I could do. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not, there's no way I'm going to pour beer at that time. My daughter's in a wheelchair. You know, my wife his ribs are busted up and she's like kind of trying to deal with the crowd. And so it was a very awkward day for us to reopen. But our ex-employees and our current employees made it almost joyful. I mean, it was a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I can only imagine, like, you know, a restaurant, all the people that you've hired just show up one day because of tragedy and start working for you for nothing. Just to be a help because of the way we treated them while they were there. And I think that validates what Jess is doing with, you know, the diversity. She's always reached out to anyone and everyone that wants an opportunity. And if you're doing the right things, you're going to be rewarded for it. And if you're not, you know, maybe it's time to move on. But she has done some amazing things with this business, and I'm very, very, very proud of how, because my daughter's part of it too now, and we didn't even like most. So I'm a Latino, right? So a Mexican family. Usually, when mom and dad do a business, everybody in the family has to do the business, right? We didn't ask that of my daughter, so she, for the first year, she was not part of the business. Now she's been brewing my wife since 2007, but she's not a big beer fan. Well, she is now, but she wasn't like she's just like Jess. Yeah, I could care less. Okay. But she brewed with her mom because it was their time to be together, and they'd have that time of, you know, wait an hour for the beer to do whatever it does. And then, so they got a chance to talk. They really bonded by brewing. So since she was 7, she's been making beer with my wife. One day she came to Jess and goes, "Hey, I want to work at the brewery." And Jess is like, because it's her daughter. And then you got to deal with the whole, hey, are you being favored or whatever? And then Cassie goes, no, I don't even want to brew right now. I just want to help you guys. Let me be a bartender. Because she's like, I'd rather not be a waiter at some other restaurant. I'd rather do it.
What year was this?
She started, I think, 19. So it was the second year or a little bit before that.
Okay.
But she was like, I want to help out. And she had been going with Jess, but it was never a paid thing. So she became an employee, and Jess made her, you know, hey, you work for Michelle, and Michelle's the bar manager or whatever. And then Michelle ended up doing more stuff at her other job. So she's like, Cassie earned her way to become the tap room manager, and she's running all the events, and she's doing all this stuff. And I was like, dude, when is she gonna brew? And my wife's like, I'm not forcing her to do nothing. And so Cassie finally said, hey, I want to get back there and start brewing with you. I got some ideas. And so all the Dia de los Muertos that we've done is all Cassie's planning. And then the beers that come with it are a lot of her recipes, because she'll sit down with my wife about a year out, and then they just start going through what they want, the theme they want to do for that year. So it's an amazing thing to see. And I'm looking at my wife, looking at her daughter, and she's following in her footsteps. Are you kidding me? Man. Dude, that's like what people dream of. Like, and I got it. Brewing is not, you're not going to be a millionaire. Well, I mean, some of them do, but not us. But my daughter is following her mom's footsteps in an industry where, one, being a woman is hard, right? But two, being a Latina woman, you're one of, point something percent. There's not a lot of you running around. And it's hard to when you go into somewhere and you're like so it still happens. Like we'll go to breweries and they're like, hey Rich, how do you guys make your beer? Blah, blah. I'm like, dude, I don't know. I've never done beer. Talk to my wife, stop talking to me. I don't know nothing about beer. I do, but I don't, that's all from secondhand through her. So I've never taken that away, and I've never asked for any, like, I rarely even claim that I'm the owner of the brewery, because honest to God, she is doing everything. I help her with the stuff that she needs help with. And I, we work it as a team, but at the end of the day, when I'm talking about the brewery, she's the boss. I don't make the decision of, hey, this is what we're going to do with the brewery. It's, let's look at this. And she goes, okay, fine. And she'll bless off.
It's her baby. Yeah.
It's her baby. Right. And with business, especially with family, it's very hard to do that. Like, I'm a machismo guy. I do stupid crap that, I shouldn't do. And I'm a very, hey, this is what we're going to do. But I kind of had to get over that. And I was like, hey, this is her baby. She has the brain for this. She has the talent, the skill set. Why would I take that away? It's the same thing I do at Fort Carson with the defense contract. If you have a skill set to do this computer system, why in the world would I jump on that computer and try and do it for you? Right? Or take the credit for what you did. That helps the soldiers. That helps everybody around you. And so it has nothing to do with an individual. It has everything to do with a team. And I laugh because in business, it's always about the individual when you start, but it becomes about the team when you're going. Right.
For sure.
And then it goes back to the individual when you screw it up or when you do it right. Right. So it's an interesting way to look at things. And man, I tell you, we've never run businesses before this thing. And we went in, I mean, dude, who does that? You got a brick and mortar, you're doing a brewery, and we just jumped into it. And it was like, let's go, hair on fire, go.
That's how you got to do it. I
think. Well, I mean, and then it's brick and mortar, right? So like, you look at 2022 and the kids start with Etsy, or they start with a Facebook page that's selling whatever, or they start with little pop-ups, or, because you want to test the market before you jump in and commit everything. There was no testing, nothing for us. It was, we own a brewery, and the next day, I swear to you, we got our keys that morning and we turned the key to open the door. By 1:00 that afternoon, we were open and staring at each other going, what do we do? Like, no idea. We didn't know, how the gas worked. Like, everything was go, and people were walking in the door because the previous owner was kind enough to let us use his license until we got ours set, and that's when we became Atrevida. So we were able to stay open as Great Storm for about almost 5 months.
Nice.
And then Jess went through the inventory, and she started putting her beers on. So it was an easy transition for us with that. And that was pure luck, because he didn't have to do that. He honestly, with the liability, he probably shouldn't have done it. But he was kind enough to say, hey, go for it. You guys hold the license, because we bought the whole thing. It's like, just keep it. And then once you got yours, then I'll close mine out. So it worked out for us very well. I don't know, man. Business is business. I forgot we had a pandemic, right? Yeah. So we got shut down for about 3 months. We never canned. We've never had to go anything. So when we shut down, our business was nothing. And one of the breweries was kind enough to let us borrow one of their extra canning machines for crowlers. So then we were borrowing cans because we never had cans before. Then I had to figure out how to order cans. And so we went from having nothing to sell to selling cans. And people were so kind. I'm telling you this, the love that was out there was much more like it's been there. It's just that events like this bring it out more, I think. The pandemic, we'd have people come in and go, here's $100. I don't want anything. Or let me get one beer, but please stay open. I like this place. Let's stay open. And we were like touched like that, it didn't happen every day, but when it did happen, we were like, holy crap. Cause at that point we kept all our employees on and we were not like, we were taking it, we were getting beat up with all the other bills, but we made a pledge that we were not going to not pay our employees. So me and the wife just kept paying the employees. And then wherever we fell short everywhere else is where we fell short. And we figured it out. When we finally reopened for a little, the just to go stuff, that's when I put the webpage together and started putting, merchandise. Cause I'm like, well, maybe somebody will buy a t-shirt or
I did that too with my company.
Yeah. Like, dude. And so my family in San Diego were all, let's buy their stuff. And so mostly it was family. It was family or people that knew the brewery that were buying stuff. but only because I had no other way to get them to, like, if you send some, nobody's going to send in the mail $100 anymore. So I was like, well, we'll send them a t-shirt and then they can, pay whatever they want to pay. And then this happened, and that webpage turned into so the Wix people told us, they're like, hey, you're lucky that happened on the Black Friday window there, because they had beefed up all their computer shit and it didn't crash. They were like, dude, you should have crashed 1,000 times, but it happened to be over the holiday that they were beefing up their back end stuff. So the server support, all that was there. And so it's been wild. Like, dude, I never thought Wix would ever call me. I'm like one of the 4 million people that are on, whoever does Wix. And they called with a project manager, like, dude, we got to help you. This is out of control. And I'm like, I don't even go on the page because I'm scared to just touch it. I mean, and that's so weird because it's like, it's your page, but I'm scared to touch it because I'm like, I'll screw something up and then it just goes haywire on me. It's been a wild ride, I think.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah. If there's one thing I can say to the folks that supported us, right? It's thank you. To me, they're the heroes. They're the ones keeping my business alive. They're the ones supporting people through Colorado Heals. I mean, this community really came together. And honestly, as much as folks from the outside look at it, they're like, oh, Colorado Springs in a gay community, that's going to be crazy. No. People are people. And regardless of their opinions, people will still take care of people.
100%.
And I think that's what Colorado Springs is about. You can have your opinion. I don't care what your opinion is. May not agree with it. Don't care. But we're all humans, and we recognize pain and we recognize healing. And we do what we can to do that for ourselves as a community. It's a small man.
It is.
The cop that was helping me in there is a reserve soldier in a unit that trains at the place that I work at. And one of his soldiers was one of my employees. That's how small this community is, even though it's huge, right? We're, I don't know, 500,000 people or whatever we are now.
Small, big community.
Big, because everybody was somehow connected. And we were at Buffalo Wild Wings, and the waiter's like, I was supposed to go that night and I didn't go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did you even, like, everything is so small, but it's big, right? And then you've got the transient military coming in and out, and then they come back and they come back to a community that they recognize from before. It's the same. I went through that.
I was gonna say you were that person, right?
So like, it's a very, very cool community because people are very about what their opinions are. I get it one way or the other, but they're also understanding and people, and they treat each other with respect and some dignity. And they're all about helping people. That's what I really found with the Springs is people come in and they just want to shake your hand and they're like, here's 50. I'm like, dude, don't give me the money. Put it in a pot somewhere. Give it to someone else. Because there's always that guilt for me of I didn't get as injured as everyone else, and I want them to heal faster. And I got it. We're all gonna go mentally through something for a long time, forever. But the physical wounds remind you every day the pain of what happened to you. Nobody asked for that, right? They were changed by someone else's thing, right? So nobody in there was like, today I want to have an injury, or I want to do this, or I want to go through this because I want to be this, or I want to be that. We were all just having a good time. And that's what I keep going back to. I was like, dude, it was a great night. It was one of the best nights we've had in a long time, and we were all enjoying ourselves. It was great. The venue was perfect. The people were amazing. Nobody was in there causing problems. It was just an awesome vibe. And, we move forward after that. And we got to get back there. It's just like, and I felt bad because I was watching a lot of these places downtown while we were driving through the other day, and they're all doing the wanding and a lot more security and stuff. And I'm like, when 9/11 happened, and I don't even know if you guys maybe not even been born. And when
we're around.
Yeah, all right,
we're in our 30s.
You guys were like 3 or no? So 9/11 happened, and I was in the Army, and I remember like it was the weirdest day of my life to that point. And then I go, okay, we're going to war, right? And then I realized the whole world we're all going to war, and I'm actually in the Army, so I was like, holy crap, this is happening. And then I go, the American people said, no, we're not changed. We're getting back on planes. We're going back to venues. I'm going to the Super Bowl, or I'm going to this venue, because nobody wants anyone else to be able to change their way of life. I watched people get wanded at a place that's usually safe, that I would never expect anyone to harm anyone in there. But now you're going to go through metal detectors and go through all this stuff. That's not what I want. That's not what I think. I don't think that anybody in the society wants, right? It's the same way with like a school when they put up a metal detector. You're like, why is there a metal detector? Well, we got to be safe. I understand that part, but I also understand of like, hey, why do we have to do that? We still need to be able to live how we live. Our way of life is our way of life. There is risk, inherent risk with everything we do. When I get in my car and I drove over here, I could have been hit, killed, never saw you guys. Does that mean I don't drive anymore? No.
Yeah, you can't lock things more down.
So it is one of those things you have to take care, you have to take precaution, you have to be conscious, and you have to be aware of your surroundings. But I don't want it to change how people have a good time, right? I don't want to go to a club where if I'm getting patted down like and wanted, I probably need to turn around and leave anyway. And that's not good for business. Because we just came out of a pandemic. Everybody thinks the pandemic's over, but for businesses, we're still struggling to get people that used to come out to come back out, because people got used to staying home. I stay home now. I used to go to every brewery in town. We went to Pikes Peak Brewing on Wednesday or Thursday. First time I'd been to a brewery outside of ours in probably a year. And that's not us. But because the way this pandemic went, it sets you up for, hey, I just stay at the house. It's easy. You get a 6-pack and hang out. Okay. But now there's a business, there's an employee, there's an owner, there's the restaurant next door, there's the pizza place, there's all this stuff that starts coming down because nobody's going out. Yeah, and that's part of the challenge right now.
I think we thrive socially as humans. Like, we have to be together and social. Like, that's real connection. Like, we're not doing this over Zoom. We're doing this in person, because there's just something to be said about a person-to-person interaction. That's exactly what you're saying. Like, we can't just be comfortable being isolated from one another. We have to be together.
Right.
And especially through tragedy. You were talking about 9/11. Yeah. And I know, that was a horrific tragedy for our country, but that might have been one of the last times our country was so together, right?
But and you look at this event with the Springs, and then you look at the memorial, and there's tons of flowers and tons of people, and everybody of all walks, genders, sexualities, whatever, just coming together. And tragedy tends to breed sometimes some very good things, and hopefully that's what you can hold on to, because the tragedy is not the thing that you want to hold on to. It's the community that happens after, and then you want that to continue. And honestly, I just hope that people remember, a year from now, hey, I was nice to these people that I don't agree with, or that I do agree with, or whatever, and maybe they just stay nice. That's all. That's literally why everybody was like, oh, it's such a powerful message. You're telling people to be nice and shake somebody's hand. I'm like, no, that's not a powerful message. That's what we should do. Right? I used to go to the store when my dad was a little kid. I'm the same way as my dad. So I talk to everybody I can. Well, you guys can hear me right now. So yeah. My dad used to go to the store, and we'd be at the grocery store. It'd take us an hour to go through the damn store. Sorry for the language.
No, you're good.
But it'd take us an hour to go through the store. And I'm like, Dad, we just came in for milk. But my dad was talking to everybody in there about everything and anything, and everybody was happy. And that's where I go back to, you know what? Take the time when you're in a Walmart and you're just like, I'm just here to get my pack of pencils for whatever I'm doing at school or whatever. The person standing next, just, how you doing? That's all it takes. And hopefully that person goes, somebody acknowledged me today. Maybe that keeps them from doing something stupid. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. And I never claim to know. I just hope that people are nice to each other. And then hopefully that will be something that kind of solves some problems.
I think that could, yeah. Like, all it takes is just one interaction.
I'll tell you what, in the Army, I went from, and I was just talking about this last night, I'd never had collard greens, never had grits, never had black-eyed peas. Like, you can go through a million things, but in the Army, I was exposed to everything. Everything. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. Like, you can't get me to not eat greens. If it's on the menu, I'm eating them, right? But before, I didn't even know what it was. But at the same time, my friends didn't know what manula was or what this, other stuff. So that exposure of cultures and just different places of being where you grew up, that society bringing itself together, it was valuable. That's the team we took to go, fight the enemy, and it worked. So I always go back to, if the Army's gotten past it, then we need to get past it. And because the Army's usually one of the last folks, it's a mandate, and then it becomes part of the thing, right? I enjoyed my time in the military. I still that's why I work as a defense contractor. I still wholly believe in that mixing of folks. You get the greatest product the world could ever have. That's why the American military is best.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with because we're from America. It has everything to do with bringing Americans together from all walks of life and executing as a team for one mission. And that's what America is, right? So that's what's so cool that's what I fell in love with the Army. That's what I fell in love with staying with the Army. And that's what my wife's building with her business. And a lot of businesses are always challenged with, how do we do that? How do we bring in a diverse? You got to make it part of who you are, right? You can't just go to work and be like, I'm cool with everyone, and then turn around and you're a jerk or whatever. You got to live it. I don't care who I hang out with. I've hung out with people that people are like, yo, that guy's he's a jerk. Yeah, cool. He's nice to me. Yeah. I don't care. I'm like, yeah. So it's like you form your opinion, but at the end of the day, it's about taking care of each other. And I think that's what's hard to do in business, because everybody wants to do better than the next guy, right? Mm-hmm. But so is the Army. Everybody wants to get promoted before the next guy. Mm-hmm. But you still have to work as a team. Right. And a business community itself coming together during the pandemic is amazing. It's amazing. Every brewery in town was like, what are we doing? How are we fixing this? Here's a canning machine. Stay open. We had all of them. We ran out of beer. We had 2 months of beer. It was gone in a week and a half. All the breweries in town, I'll give you some kegs. You guys need to stay open. That's the community that got built because of tragedy, because of the pandemic, because of this, and you look and just, places close. My wife sent me a thing about a place that's closing in Denver, a brewery that we know the owner. And literally, like, the sadness is like, man, that sucks, dude. Because the impact it's going to have. But then you also realize it's Denver, and their rent probably doubled, and they can't afford it, right? So there's good and bad to everything. And it's one of those things where we were blessed to have survived as a business through the pandemic. My wife worked it. I've never seen someone make a penny stretch that far, but she made that penny stretch like a tortilla. That thing was smashed out, and it spread. So she made that penny last. And now it's like, okay, how do I get people back in here? The community has reached out from this event, but is that going to continue in 6 months from now? I don't know. And that's we're still there, So that's the hope, is that once people come in, they enjoy the product, they just come back for the product. Yeah. It's not about, this tragedy. It's about the business. And I like your product, so I'll come back for your product. That's where I hope it goes back to.
For sure.
And I genuinely believe that she's doing amazing things. So it'll be fun. It's the one place where we enjoy, like, making people happy. Mm-hmm. Right. And you can do that outside of just your family. So it's kind of cool.
Where is your guys' beer in stores or any other
No, so places? That's the thing. Like, dude, I mean, there's 6 of us, and so we have kegs, but we don't can. We can each individual can. When somebody comes in and asks for a 6-pack, we got to can 6 cans, and put stickers on everything because it's not labeled. So we're trying to. Jess is trying. She's got her goals set on what she wants to do, and I think in the future, hopefully, we'll be in more places than just the brewery. And businesses that were struggling or still struggling, and they're like, hey, dude, I can't afford to have 19 different taps on. I can only do 2 beers because that's all I can pay for right now until I get more customers in here. So everything has a trickle down effect, right? Mm-hmm. So the venues, if there's not a packed house at a baseball game or a concert, then there's not enough beer sales for them to buy more beer from the local area, and it's cheaper just to go with the Budweiser or whatever.
So that's what happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything happens. Mm-hmm. It's a business decision. Do I want to spend more money on craft beer, or do I want to spend less money on big beer, and then sell more? Which one am I selling more of?
Exactly. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And where's the cost benefit for me as a venue owner or as a restaurant? Mm-hmm. So I understand all that, and hopefully the goal is to get everybody back to normal again and out. because there was a point where I think Americans weren't even cooking anymore, and they were literally going out to dinner every night. Like I felt like that's how people were going, because everybody was out every night. Like, oh, we're getting dinner. I'm like, when do you guys cook? Like nobody cooks, right? But then we went to the pandemic and everybody's cooking again. So it's like it's transitioned. So it's an ebb and flow, and hopefully folks get back out and do their thing, and we'll enjoy that. So.
Where can we? Where's the brewery at?
The brewery's on Nevada. It's on Mount View Lane in Nevada. It's called the North Nevada Shopping Center or something like that.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. Either way, go down Nevada where the old dog track was. If you're a local, just go past the dog track. It's there. If you're not a local, then and you've been here shortly, there's a Costco out the freeway. You get off on Garden of the Gods. You hang a right instead of a left. So you go south on Nevada instead of north towards Costco. Go the other way. And you're right. We're right there on the left. You'll see a big sign. We're the next stoplight after Nevada and Austin Bluffs Garden of the Gods intersection.
Nice.
If you go to UCCS, come on down the hill. It's the one bus stop away.
Real close.
Yeah.
I used to go there when I was at UCCS.
Did you?
Yeah.
The bus stop is awesome because I've had kids that take the bus down, get a beer, and then go back up to class. It's hilarious.
You went to Atrevida?
Yeah.
No, when it was what was the former?
Oh yeah,
Great Storm.
Oh yeah,
Great
of course.
Storm.
Yeah, it's been. I think I graduated in 2014, so it's been a while. But
yeah. No,
cool.
I mean, and UCCS is that's my school. I graduated there in 2021, and they're good folks, and we've been supporting them. We've done fundraisers, and then the Mosaic one actually happened right after this event, but we had scheduled it months before, and Justin's like, we're still doing it. The school means a lot to us. One, because I went there, but two, it's right up the street, and you got to support your team, and that's a neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah.
You were in line when you said it was right next to Brian's. The person who built this wall, he has a shop right off of Mount View in Nevada.
Yeah, right there.
He's on the west side though. He's in like the
Ignite
industrial
Experience.
Oh, okay.
Jack Sachs throwing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ignite Experience. It was Jack Sachs throwing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Man, see, that's what I'm saying. It's a small world. Like when you start talking about the Springs, somebody's like, "Oh yeah, I got a friend that was like." It's always that way, man. That's what's cool about this area.
It's a good spot too, because think about Nevada over there. It's been so gentrified. Like when I was going to school, it did not look
none of that.
nice.
None of that Costco stuff was there.
Yeah.
Like it was a field and just a bunch of crap. And my end of town is still it's still the old North Nevada. But it's getting slowly getting merged into the University Village thing. And honestly, it's progress, right? So you got this giant Costco and all these, Lowe's, but hell, I go to Lowe's right there every 5 minutes to get stuff for the brewery. So I'm like, dude, this is perfect. But then, you got folks that are really hurting, money wise, socially, whatever. They're really hurting in that little zone where we're at.
For sure.
And we try and help as best we can. We've the food trucks that are there will, they'll feed them every once in a while if they can. And, we never closed our doors. I've had a guy in a wheelchair just want to come in and plug in to charge his chair. I'm like, dude, plug in, man, hang out and relax a little bit. As long as people are respectful, I don't care. I'm not going to tell you no. If you come in and you're doing stuff that's just you're bothering other people or you're being out of control, you got to go. And that's regardless of your social status. But I don't have a problem if somebody just needs to sit down and use the Wi-Fi. We told the students all the time, you don't even have to buy a beer. You're not 21. You're not going to get a beer. But you can come in and sit down and do your homework in a different environment than your dorm room, or whatever, because we're right down the hill. And we're local. We're not, all the restaurants right there in University Village are more chain
restaurants.
Yeah. So I'm like, we're local. I went to school where you're going to school right now, it's kind of one of those things where, and we have professors there all the time, which is really, really cool. The old Mosaic director, oh man, I can't remember his name. He was amazing. He was a miner. He used to run a bulldozing truck, and then he got hurt when he was in his mid 40s. So then he decided to go to school, and then he got his master's, then he got his PhD, and then he became part of the faculty at UCCS. And the guy is amazing. He's one of my favorite people in the world. And he comes and supports. He's been supporting since we've opened. The Mosaic, like when I graduated, he was there. It's such a nice community at UCCS. And they really do go out of their way to make sure everybody feels included. And that means something to us. So, yeah.
That's so beautiful, man. You've kind of touched on some of the questions I have, but one thing I really want to hammer home for everybody listening is how can everybody support you, your family, and everyone affected by the events in November?
Well, I mean, the easy thing for me is the Colorado Healing Fund. If you go to the brewery, my daughter put everybody's verified GoFundMe's, all the folks that have them that we know. We're missing. There was lots of people in there, and we're missing everybody. We can't, we don't know. But when my daughter finds a verified thing, she's got it even on all our social media where you can look up, potted plants, GoFundMe, Chip and Joanne, Raymond, everybody. For us, it was we didn't do a GoFundMe. We didn't do any of that because, I mean, honestly, my daughter's knees broke, but okay, she didn't get shot. So honestly, we have a business, and the business, because of this, got business. So we're okay. I don't need the funding that these other kids need. So that's what we keep steering folks to them because we want them to be able to do things to heal themselves before they have to go back to work and get to the grind and all that stuff. And even when they're in the grind and they have their bad days, they're going to need somebody to, hey, can you cover this day so I can pay my rent? That's part of what that GoFundMe is about, is like giving them the space and time to heal. Because 6 months from now, when they have a breakdown and they can't get out of bed for 2 days, hopefully that fund is there for them to say, okay, I didn't go to work, but I still have the money. And it'll pay for my food or my rent or whatever, or my medical bills. So that's what I think everybody can do. Our social media has all that stuff. Colorado Healing Fund is a safe bet. There was that whole thing about people using percentages or whatever. I go, dude, GoFundMe is taking a percentage too. Like, everybody has to take a percentage to run these things. You can't just do stuff for free. Unless you know the person and you hand them a 50 or 100 or whatever you want to hand them, a 10 or 5 or 1. That's really the only way to do it, right? So the Healing Fund, to me, it's a big pot. It's very, you turn in your receipt and you get, they pay it out, or you turn in the bill, they pay the bill direct, but they take care of everything as long as it's a legit thing. You can't just call up and say, hey, I want $1,000. They're not doing that. Which is, to me, a good thing because it gets spread out by need. It's not spread out by desire, right? The GoFundMe is for each individual. And if they need it, they need it. That's up to them, however they want to use it. But I think that's how you help. It is go to their GoFundMes, or if you don't want to individualize it, put it right in the pot with the Colorado Healing, and everybody gets a piece of that. And that helps all the kids, even the ones that don't have GoFundMes. If they need something, they can go there and get it. Which is, to me, sad that we have that fund, but it's amazing that it is there. I had no idea. I'll be honest, the victim advocates, there's the DA's victim advocate and the Colorado Springs Police Department victim advocates. The most amazing people in the world. Like, if you wanted to meet somebody who cares, that never met you before, these people are amazing. They bent over backwards to make sure we were happy and that we were able to get what we needed when we needed it. And if we ran into problems, you'd call them and say, hey, I don't understand why this is happening. Here, I'll get it. I'll fix it for you. Here's a wheelchair. Here's a this. Here's a that. Let's get you up and at it. Amazing people. And that's part of our community. That's something that I'd never even heard of until I was a part of a tragedy like this. And then all of a sudden there was these beautiful people just wanting to help. Had nothing to, they were part of the police department, part of the DA's office. And they're just like, listen, do you need a list of folks to go see for counseling? Do you need, whatever? Do you need a meal train or whatever it's called? They were there, and it was a beautiful thing. And if you get a chance to volunteer for it, if you get a chance to be a part of it or donate to it, that's the victim advocates. Awesome. And it's scary because nobody knows about it until they get into something like this. So a crime happens to them, and then they're like, whoa, where did this come from? Because you never think of the city and the state doing things like that for you. This is El Paso County, and the city taking care of people, and it's a beautiful thing. I literally thanked the mayor for it. I was like, dude, you had the greatest victim advocate. I've never seen such nice people. And they did the whole thing over at on Nevada. There was at the expo, the old expo center. It's now the UCCS thing. But they had a whole thing where you come in and just find out all the things that were available to all the victims. And they kept all the media out. It was just a place for all the victims to go find all the resources they need. And they just kept it up and kept doing it. And now you contact them, they will tell you the resource you need. So it's really, really, really amazing stuff that they're doing.
Yeah, it makes me so proud to be from this community.
Yeah, no, dude, and that's kind of where I'm like, because I went back home to kind of get away from everything for the holidays, and we were all like, well, let's just get home, and we met back here. So it's one of those things where like now I have 2 homes. It used to be just San Diego, like I gotta get home, and now we're like, this is home. That's where we used to live, so that's our old home, but this is our home, you know. And you're right on. It's an amazing community out here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I did hear that through my research that you're a big Chargers fan. You were talking about that, so that's pretty crazy.
I like today. Like I said, today is a big day. So it's a wild card Saturday at the brewery, and the Efren is the chef that we have that comes out, and he does a Southern California street taco, like the best tacos in town, birria, ramen, like and dude, the guy just does amazing food, right? And he's a Niners fan. He's always been trying to get me to be because they have the 7-1 Niners group here. So it's pretty cool. So he's part of the 7-1 Niners, and they're all the 49er fans in the Springs, and they do their thing at Summit. And I've always tried to get them to come down to the brewery and like, hey, just come down to the brewery and do your thing here. And they're like, no, we got kids. We want to let them go play so that the families can all, you know. And it makes total sense to me. Like the kids can't play at the brewery. They're welcome, but there's no, you know, Nintendos and all the other arcades and stuff that are at Summit. So they do their thing up there. But he cooks with us, and when he cooks with us, a lot of folks do come in. And so today is 49ers in the afternoon, and then the Chargers in the evening. And it was neat because the Denver, or the Bolt Up Colorado out of Denver, is a group of Charger fans in Denver, and they were all like, they'd seen the whole Chargers thing. The Chargers took us out for the New Year, and he was like, dude, what can we do to support? And like, can we come down and watch the game? I'm like, let's do it. So I don't know if it's going to be too many people or whatever, but we invited that crew that usually does the tailgate for the Chargers and Broncos games. They're all hopefully kind of show up tonight, and
nice.
We'll have a big Charger crowd, and hopefully anybody in the Springs that's a Charger fan will be there, and it'll be a good time. So that was our goal, to kind of celebrate that, because they really did go above and beyond. We were completely shocked at how they treated us. It was amazing. So it was really good deal.
Yeah, best of luck to them then. That's
today. Yeah, good luck. Yeah, that's all today. Yeah, so nobody will see it on the podcast. They're like, oh, that happened like a week ago or whatever. I don't know. So, but yeah, today's a big deal for the brewery and us.
Nice, that's cool.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna have to come check it out and try.
You should. That food though.
And that food too.
Dude,
yes.
Get out there, you get a beer, and oh my god, he is.
That's cool that your chef also brings the crowd.
He does.
Yeah.
but that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
That's the point of the whole thing. Is
again,
like,
there's 6 of you, right?
Yeah, dude, bring him in, man. And he's Efren he's from LA, and when we showed up to the brewery when we were just opening, and we became friends. And we're friends, and he's gone through some tragedy as well, and we were there for him, and he's been there for us with this, and how Raymond used to work for him because he does flooring on as his main job, and then he does the chef thing when he gets a chance, and he just loves to cook. So that's what's, I think, again, it goes back to that last, 5-10% or what last 1% heart and soul goes into that product. You can feel it, you can taste it. And that's what a friend brings, and that's what I think my wife brings to beer, and that's what's really cool. So yeah, he's been a part of the brewery since we opened, and he's still a good friend of ours. So
nice.
Yeah. And believe me, his opinions do not match mine.
Okay.
But that said, we're still good friends. So that's the best part.
That's what you're talking about,
yeah.
Right? A melting pot. That's what helped you in the military.
That's right.
That's what's helping through this whole process. Thank you so much for coming on today.
No, thank you for having me.
This has been such a great interview. Thoughts and prayers going out to you guys forever, because what you guys are going through is just so tragic and so tough, and I can only imagine. And just want to let you guys know that we're thinking about you guys. And
thank you.
Over and over and over, my family has frequented the same Club Q.
Yeah.
Over the years, that's a staple in our community.
It is.
And
it's been there for 20 plus years.
Yeah, it's
a big deal.
Been there forever.
Yeah.
And we just really appreciate you coming on, like I said.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and I agree. Yes, this has been good, and it's just been interesting just listening.
I talk a lot. Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, I probably took away your guys' question time. So,
no. That's actually great. It's when a guest can talk, that's usually makes better content because it's a podcast.
Cool.
So that's good. So we'll hope to have you back on the show in like a year or so, and and see where you guys are or something like that.
Yeah,
We love to support the community as well. This community has just like we were talking about, this community has that feeling where it just makes you want to be a part of it more. Yeah. And that's kind of what this podcast is all about as well too.
Yeah.
And it's a shame I didn't know about you guys until that event though.
And that's fine. And again, it goes back to like, we're 6 people. I don't have a marketing team. When we run out of stickers, we run out of stickers. You know what I'm saying? And like, there's no commercials that have Atrevida on it. There's no, and then I'm like, well, kids don't even watch TV anymore. So how do I get it? You know, like, it's so social confusing. Media. Well, yeah, I know. But even then you're like, well, I don't use that one. I use this one. I use this one. And I don't use that one.
It is a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. And I'm like, okay. And so it's been cool to see folks come in for the first time, folks come in for the millionth time, and it's been really cool. So yeah, please come by.
I'm excited
and bring somebody with you.
Yes,
so,
we're coming.
Yeah,
we're coming by.
Bring
man.
more people with you.
Yes,
that's what I enjoy, is seeing groups having a good time at the brewery.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, this has been a great episode, and we'll see you guys on the next one.